How does school choice contribute to racial segregation, and what are its effects on students? Or how could a city subvert Brown versus Board and still manage to sleep at night? By Maggie Ritchie. We have to start at the beginning. How did we get here? This is a case study of New Orleans. So before Katrina, I'm going to take you all the way back to 1896. That's when the Plessy versus Ferguson Supreme Court case rules that separate but equal is the rule of the land. But then in 1954, Brown versus Board rules that separate but equal is inherently unequal. But New Orleans doesn't pay that any mind and stays segregated until about 1960 when a federal judge orders the school system to comply. From 1974 to 2005, the New Orleans Teachers Union, UTNO, and the Orleans Parish School Board, OPSB, agree on bargaining agreements that have strong community support and that supports equal pay among Black teachers and white teachers, and that creates a strong union that keeps experienced, diverse teachers employed at public schools, and that has a positive impact on students. So then, just before the storm in August 2005, 117 schools were under OPSB, including one charter. 5 were taken over by the Recovery School District, and 2 independent charters were under the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. Now, after Katrina, in September of 2005, the school board rejects a plan to reopen schools that was created by the teachers union and the superintendent of schools at the time, Dr. Ora Watson. Also, George W. Bush provides an additional $2,000 per student who attend charter schools. OPSB refuses to pay teachers from a $2.4 billion emergency fund that was meant specifically for that purpose. Teachers are also put on leave without pay, and then the OPSB fired all employees later in the year. By August of 2014, there were 83 public schools in the city. 20 were under OPSB, including 14 charter schools. 57 were under Recovery School District. All of those were charters. And there were 4 under Bessie, which were all charters as well. So where are we now? Today, the numbers are as follows. 98% of students in New Orleans attend charter schools. 91% of students are students of color. Private schools enroll a majority of white students in a majority Black city. 82% of students are economically disadvantaged. 12% of students have an exceptionality. 78% of students graduate, where our national average is 89.51%. 8% of charter schools have admission criteria, and 5% of charter schools are alternative schools for credit recovery or expulsion terms. 31% of teachers have 0 to 2 years experience, and 42% of teachers are white. And then there's One App. So One App is the program that families in New Orleans use to rank their preferred schools, and then an algorithm assigns the student to a school. The algorithm is not made public, but there is a very cute video on the enrollnola.com website that explains it. In 2018, One App gave priority status to students who are geographically closer to their school of choice, and that made it more likely to help white and higher income students get placed in better performing schools. I know, we're all having heart attacks. It's such a surprise. Now, I'd like to take a moment to challenge the notion of school choice. School choice is only really a choice for wealthy families. White flight increases towards private and selective enrollment schools. Charters are also a capitalist system for a socialist idea. We owe every child a free and high-quality education, and yet New Orleans spends more money on administration than they do teaching under the charter system. And also there are fewer experienced teachers teaching at charter schools because they are too expensive. Our more seasoned professionals are ousted because they cost more to pay. This also breathes new life into racial segregation. The NAACP, among others, have called for a moratorium on charter schools in 2016. And this all is allowed to fly because charters have such little oversight and accountability. We probably already know some of this, but these are the effects of segregation. Racial prejudice increases, dropout rates skyrocket, all students score lower on tests, economic segregation has negative impacts on the health of students from poorer families, crime increases in the long term, and civic engagement declines in the long term. On the flip side, the effects of integration are that Black students improve dramatically in educational attainment, earnings, and health status. Children of all races have better outcomes in adulthood, and so do their children. Whew. Crime rates and healthcare costs drop when governments invest in integrated schools. Black students' graduation rates increased by 15% when they attended integrated schools for 5 years. And that also reduced the same students' chances of living in poverty in adulthood by 11%. Students from racially and economically integrated schools have higher average test scores. Students are more likely to go to college when they are in integrated classrooms. Students are less likely to drop out. School integration investments have a return of 3 to 5 times the cost of the program itself. There is nothing to lose and everything to be gained. But I didn't have to tell you that. We know, okay, segregation is bad, so what can we do about it? I propose the following solutions. We should re-centralize city school systems. Instead of the vouchers that are meant for school choice, we should increase public school funding. We should abolish charter schools and private schools. We should enforce the Fair Housing Act, and then that way we will have mixed income everywhere and taxes can go to public schools and making them all awesome. We can create a centralized enrollment system that evenly distributes rich and poor students. We can also increase funding for teacher pay and classrooms and decrease funding for administration. And we can also allow teachers to unionize. That just means they're going to stay longer, they're going to form relationships with our kids, and invest in our kids as much as our schools invest in them. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.